I'm going to clean it up and shove it in. And here's our chain readings. -7 and -10. Yeah, that's no good. -8 is the limit, and within 2 is the limit. Plus or -8, but yeah. So we're past the limit. Regular viewers of the channel may remember this car. I haven't driven it in over 2 years, and there's a good reason for that. It's got a few things wrong with it, and I just haven't had time, so it's just been parked up in the corner of the driveway, looking very sad for itself. Well, today that all changes. I have ordered everything that it needs, and I'm going to get it back on the road. It really is looking very unloved in there. I feel terrible that it has just been literally parked up and left to rot, but the reason was the chains, and it's a big job, quite expensive and quite labour intensive. It also needs an alternator, it also needs the fans doing, so yeah, it made sense to sort of do all that at the same time. And then something came up which made even more sense. An engine and gearbox from a lower mileage V6 with good chain readings, with a remapped ECU, with a fresh alternator on it. I mean, no brainer. For the money that I can sell this non-working engine for, and a working gearbox, and then the money that it cost me for that is actually cheaper than buying the parts to do the chain job, and I get it mapped at the same time. So yeah, after that it's going to need proper wheels putting on. For now it's just going to get the 18s that were on the track car because they've got decent tyres on, because obviously it's going to need an MOT. So the only part I'm currently missing are the gaskets for the downpipes. Now, struggling to get hold of them at TPS for me. They've ordered them in, but today's a bank holiday Monday, so I can't go and collect them. So I don't know if it'd definitely be running perfectly today, but the plan is engine out, engine in, all plumbed in, ready to go. That's the plan. It's a bank holiday, it's what they're made for. Let's get it done. Check out the size of that visitor. Yeah, you're not staying here any longer. So at this point, I should probably show you a thing or two about the 3.2 engine. You've got a secondary air pump down here. You've got an additional radiator for the DSG. Thermostat lives all the way down there. We've got a vacuum box for controlling things like solenoids, the flap on the exhaust, things like that. So because you don't have the time off throttle, if you like, at the highest point of vacuum that you would have on a manual, with the DSG you don't have that, so you have an additional pump for vacuum as well, which lives sort of down there, comes up here, and then goes on to the servo as well. Obviously this all looks completely different to the 1.8, and I'm just referencing that because most viewers of this channel are used to seeing me work on the 225s, the 180s, the 1.8s. So this end is where all the timing chain lives, which is why to do the job the gearbox has to come off. So most people opt to do that with the engine out of the car. So hence I'm at the point where if the engine's got to come out and I can just quickly sling that one back in, I save myself a lot of time. Now when I'm doing the chains on a manual, I'll do it in place. On the DSG it's more awkward to get the gearbox off, it really is. So tend to do that out of the car as well. So here you've got your nice convenient location for your oil filter housing. Obviously secondary water pump there hidden away. I mean, that's nice and easy to get to, isn't it? If you want to take the manifold off in situ, it's a pain because you can see where all the bolts are located. And obviously the slam panel's usually there. So again, if you wanted to do the chains in the car, you have to pull the slam panel away to get access to do that. So the trick now is to have a look at what's been removed and from where on this engine, and then remove stuff in the same place on this engine, because obviously there's more than one way you can undo the coolant lines and things like that. So the things that we're looking at is coolant lines been removed here and here. for some reason this has been undone from there, probably to make removing the throttle body convenient. They've left the power steering line on, which looks like it may have had the incorrect fluid in at some point, so we'll move over the pump as well, which has also been left on. Yeah, and that's basically the way that I approach things like this. Obviously if I'm removing the engine to put into something else, then I've got my own way of doing it, but obviously I didn't remove this, so I've just got to copy the way this was done on that one. Easy peasy. I think the trickiest part of the job is going to be getting to the downpipe studs to get the nuts off here, but that shouldn't be too bad. So yeah, I'm just gonna crack on. At this point, it really is just a case of removing all the coolant lines, vacuum lines, fuel lines. There's not much wiring to worry about, that can all stay in place. Oh yeah, let's not forget these awkward nuts right at the back of the engine. The bane of my life they were. Quick disconnect to the power steering system, drain all the fluid, and no matter how long you leave it draining, there's always more that comes out. And then last but not least, coolant bottle and all the coolant lines in that back corner. So I'm now just at the point where I've got to remove the drive shafts, and then it's engine mounts, and I think everything else is disconnected. Get it pulled out. It's definitely a good job my wife loves me and doesn't mind that I make all this mess and that I leave an engine right in the doorway. At least I think she doesn't mind. But yeah, I'd probably best get that moved. That was effort. What I have noticed is back of this engine is filthy. I do want to get that cleaned up, get rid of all the grime and stuff while it's sat out of the bay. Might as well. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to shove it in. I'm going to clean it up and shove it in. Yeah, but I am going to clean it, and I'm going to put it back in the space in the engine bay. Oh yeah. It's very safe to say I'm glad I didn't try filming that, because that's been an absolute nightmare, and I've only really got it partly in place. The tricky bit is balancing the tilt of the engine so that the coupler for the prop will go in, keeping the downpipes out of the way, tilting it this way, that way, this way, that way. Yeah, it's got a bit sketchy, I'm not going to lie to you, but I've got these lined up going in nicely. So now we have to put that side in properly, support the weight of the engine with the trolley jack, and then manoeuvre it. Yeah, that was a right pain in the arse. Something's just not right about this setup. Might be the angle of the car. Honestly don't know, but it's just not gone to plan. And there we go. One engine back in place. Well, that has definitely worn me out for the day. However, I can't stop there. I've got to zip it all back up. But like I say, without having the gaskets for the downpipes, I don't want to put everything together back there. So it won't be starting up today. You will see it start up on this video though. Yeah, luckily for you, the power of editing will be in the next minute or so. But for me, probably going to be a couple of evenings time. Luckily I noticed that the engine loom was damaged, and look, it's right next to that hole that you need to access that bolt, so they clearly were not very careful. Bit of repair work to be done because the old one is staying on the engine, because that's how it's agreed to be sold. So yeah, a little bit of wiring repairing to do as well. All good fun. Exhaust gaskets are here and in place, and man, that was a faff, because they're both connected together, as you can see. So because they're both connected together, the angle's got to be absolutely perfect. You've got 6 holes lined up all at once, but they are lined up. So I can get that together. Should be able to at least start it tonight. Might not be able to drive it, but then hopefully I can get it booked in for an MOT tomorrow. Ooh, who knows? Let's find out. Okay, so everything is wired in as it should be. Everything's plumbed in. It's got some coolant in. It needs a little bit more, but it's got enough. Let's see if it's going to start, shall we? Woohoo! Oh yeah, she runs. Seems like a complete waste of time. Yeah, I'm very not happy. Yeah.